Good morning. My name is Michael R. Roser, and I'm Chief Coaching Facilitator and founder of my company, Strategic Life Coaching, LLC. Please join me for this video and others at my website, abundantlifeslc.com. First of all, guys, I wanted to make a correction on yesterday's video, Monday's video. We're actually in our 6th week, and I referred to it as the 5th week of our weight loss journey, and so I wanted to make that clarification this morning. So what we talked about yesterday was this idea of whether we're self-centered or God-centered, and the importance of that again is that if we're returning to that focal point and returning to how we've always been, the likelihood is very strong that we're going to continue to get what we've always gotten. And if that isn't what we want in our life, then we have to change. We have to look at another focal point and another place or another source, as I called it yesterday, for that strength and that ability not only to change from a behavioral standpoint, those narratives that are inside of us, but also then to be able to sustain that change over a period of time to have our new life become a lifestyle. And so I mentioned yesterday about the Native Americans and what their approach to this idea of changing your life and sustaining your life and building your life. In my studies of Native Americans, and I don't pretend to be an expert at all, but I've been fascinated with Native American culture since I was 6 or 7 years old, walking on the Platte River with my mother, Connie Roser, picking up arrowheads and knives and scrapers and manos and matatis and all kinds of things that had been left behind by the Native Americans, and inquiring and asking those questions of who were these people and what were they about. And my mother was an archaeologist and quite an expert on Native American culture. To this day, I have 17 or 18 frames of arrowheads that I cherish, that my mom and I, over years and years of walking the Platte River, collected. And so when I referred to the medicine wheel of the Native Americans, this is what it looks like. So they focus on directions and colors within those directions, north, east, south, and west, and all of that circle and all of the things that we're going to talk about over the next 4 or 5 days here is going to be on how we get into this center, the centered self, and this power that we are gaining from all of the things that are in our lives. And so forgiveness to the north, peace to the east, healing to the south, and truth to the west. And so over this next couple of days here, we're going to develop this and why I believe this is important for us in our journey on how we can change internally and how we can use nature and the great outdoors. The Native Americans called it the spirit of the universe, and they saw that spirit in every animal, in every plant, and every tree, and they respected the outdoors, and they respected what the spirit of the universe, which I of course call God, has created for all of us. And how can I use that source, and how can I use this in a way that will sustain me and keep me going in my life on this journey of spiritual change? The Native American people, were very spiritual in nature, and they didn't they didn't harvest, they hunted, and they made sure that while they needed to kill buffalo for their food and for their clothing and for their tools, that they didn't harvest. And that culture was extremely strained when the whites came west and started harvesting those buffalo for their hides purely and left the carcasses laying around. There's a wonderful movie that described the plains and how these Indians lived their life, and it's magical. Dances with Wolves, and I suggest everybody watch that movie because it's a lot about life and a lot about what we're going to be talking about going forward. To use each day and to use the universe around us for strength and nourishment and fulfillment and abundance. And that's what we're going for at Strategic Life Coaching. And I hope you find this fascinating. And whether you're a Native American or not, these principles are so very important. And I will add one last thing. In my third treatment up in Center City, Minnesota, I was introduced to a book called The Red Road to Wellbriety. And it focused a lot on this medicine wheel. And it talked about how the Native Americans and their sweat lodges and their reconciliation and their revitalization as it related to getting over the obsession of alcohol, which has hit that culture and that community very, very severely. And they wrote this marvelous book on how to overcome that, but also to overcome what was really going on inside of me, as I found later through introspection, that the feelings that I had and the anger and the rage and the fury, that was caused by other things in my life. And I was simply medicating those away with alcohol. And now I found a better way to do it. And so while I'm not an expert on any of this, I do believe that it's powerful in its application to how we can change and how we can utilize this in our daily lives, which again, to me, gets back to this idea of religion versus spirituality. Religion is great. The Bible's fantastic, and there's so much knowledge and wisdom contained in that document. However, my disconnect, and where this is very important, is taking those wonderful principles and actually applying them to my daily life in a way that's sustainable, in a way that leads to true happiness and true abundance. So I hope you enjoy this. I look forward to tomorrow and the next, again, few days here going through this wheel and what it means potentially to me and you and how we can change our lives. Take care. Bye now.